So they intercept out with a great report about the New York Democratic Party. Now, look, there's been a lot of issues with the New York Democratic Party. If you've been following TYT politics and you follow the race in between Andrew Cuomo and Cynthia Nixon, New York politics becomes pretty contentious. Now, this actually does tie in a little bit to Cuomo, but it's more of a local kind of issue with the local Democratic Party that is now attempting to require loyalty pledges for their members. Well, that's interesting. Now, let me get to the story here. Now, on Tuesday, Democrats in Chemung County, New York, had voted down a proposal that would have required all members to pledge loyalty to candidates endorsed by the state, local, or national party. So understand what this is, right? This is essentially codifying vote blue no matter who, right? So I'm not even talking about like having to vote for. Okay, we'll get back to that in a second. Okay, so basically, if for an example, the party chooses an establishment Democrat, right, which happens a lot. So the New York Democratic Party or Chemung County chooses an establishment Democrat that's, you know, for a little bit of modest change, wants to keep the system, wants to fix the ACA, etc., is okay with, you know, corporate PAC money and all that stuff, right? And maybe he votes with Republicans 50% of the time, right? And he had a progressive challenger, right? Now, and look, I'm not even talking about a progressive challenger from like the Green Party or anything like that. No, this is a fellow Democrat running a primary against this conservative establishment Democrat, right? Well, if this proposal had passed, then it would stipulate that you as a party member would have to support that establishment candidate if they were endorsed by the state, local, or national party. You couldn't go and support that progressive Democrat running a primary. Well, that seems a little messed up. And thank goodness that it did not go through. But let me give you some details here, right? First off, how it was defeated. Now, progressives on the committee had ended up spending a week leading up to the meeting organizing opposition from members of this 20-person committee. Now, that obviously, that's good. Grassroots people power defeated most of this measure, and actually, let me get into that. Even though they managed to vote down the oath in its current format, they couldn't completely get rid of it. So at least they got rid of, I think, the worst parts of this. Now, Deb Lynch, who's the first vice chair of the committee, said, quote, "First, we voted on removing that paragraph entirely. We ended up losing on that. Then we voted on rewriting it in a way that was palatable to everyone in a month, so that's where we're at." So it now still has to get voted in. Now, among the stuff they removed, proposed that all committee members promise to be loyal to the Chemung County Democratic Committee by supporting the activities and candidate endorsements made by the CCDC, state or national Democratic committees. Now, if you're disloyal, well then, I don't know if there's any sort of punishment for being disloyal, possible expulsion from the party perhaps. I'm not entirely sure. But examples of what disloyalty would include, and are not limited to, displaying political signs or other activities for candidates opposing Democratic candidates. Now, again, this could be a progressive running a primary that is also a Democrat, but not one that is the official Democratic candidate. Now, that would also include any form of social media. So, for example, if you were to say, well, I support the progressive Democrat on Twitter, well, that would mean you were disloyal to the party. Wonderful. So, look, if you can't actually try to run a primary or support a primary opponent, then what's the point of having primaries? There wouldn't be a point. But basically what this is the establishment trying to shut down dissent. They're trying to shut down progressive left-wing candidates. Now, The Intercept looked into this and found out that this pledge had come from party chair Jim Carr, along with Cindy Emmer, who is another Chemung County Democratic Committee member. Now, both Emmer and Carr happen to sit on the New York State Democratic Committee. Now, that's a body that is closely aligned with New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who is facing his own primary challenge from the left in Cynthia Nixon. So this basically is coming in from on high and trying to get local Democratic Party chairs to pass these loyalty oaths to prevent insurgent progressive Democrats from being able to take over at the local level. They're afraid of progressive activists. In a way, that's how you know you're winning, right? You know you're winning when you have these very powerful Democrats and these very powerful committees attempt to institute loyalty tests, which essentially have the goal of shutting down progressive challengers. Now, I've got a quote here, and this is from Namiki Kans. Now, look, Namiki's a friend of the show. She's a TYT investigative reporter. She was also appointed by Bernie Sanders to the Unity Reform Commission, and she knows a lot about New York politics. Now, she told The Intercept, quote, "I'm very familiar with the New York State Democratic Party, and everything is structured in a way to benefit Andrew Cuomo and his agenda." And what agenda is that? Well, that's, of course, the centrist establishment agenda of basically keeping things status quo. Now, he's able to try to keep that agenda by using what she calls fear tactics. Quote, "He uses fear tactics in deal-making, and the New York State Committee is made up entirely of Cuomo loyalists." So that kind of shows you why this is happening. They want to make sure that there are no progressive upstarts, that they're not going to be caught surprised by an insurgent candidate coming in from the left. So that shows you, I mean, machine politics. This is a great example of the machine trying to crush democracy, actual democracy, small d democracy, and prevent people who actually might represent regular people, regular voters, from being able to have a voice or say in the party. So now, knowing this and knowing how they continue to float this, and look, first the establishment tried to push progressives out of the race. Then they try to go and rig races. And now they're trying to pass rules that prevent Democratic candidates who are progressive from being able to run for these seats. So I would expect more of this kind of stuff, more of these loyalty pledges, as the establishment continues to be challenged from the left. Now, that doesn't mean that we should give up. It means that we should continue to fight back. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.